Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kristen. I'm a knitter living in Denver, Colorado with my family, which is my husband Shane and our two animals, Ebony and Sherlock. And Do So Knits is my little corner of the internet where I share with you how knitting and other fiber crafts have woven into my life. Today is episode 78 of my podcast where I share with you works in progress, finished objects, future cast-ons, all that kind of things. Just a little update on all the projects that I am currently working on. If you'd like to follow me other places, I am Do So Knits here on YouTube, Ravelry, Blue Sky, and Instagram. And then down in the description box below are the show notes for this episode. I link to my Ravelry project pages. In addition, I have timestamps, so if you need to jump around, or if you ever want to come back and listen about a certain project, you can see all those down there. There should be chapters in the video for you to have a quick reference for. Hi, Shirley. Sherlock, my dog, has come to say hello. He's trying to nap. I think he's trying to find a nice place to sit in here. Oh, okay. We must give pets, so we will abide until he is good. So I'll start first with what I am wearing today. This is my bonfire tee, which I test knit for Samantha Guerin. It is a short sleeve t-shirt for I guess you can wear a t-shirt anywhere, but I tend to wear it in the spring or summer. It is a round yoke color work tee and then plain down below. I knit this with Holst Super Soft, which is 100% wool yarn. And I will say this shirt for me is like a cool inside shirt only, specifically because the Holst is just a little, it's not scratchy, but it is definitely woolly for a warmer weather day. So I typically only wear this if I'm planning to hang out inside in air conditioning. It's not a great one for out and about right now. I love how it looks and I love the colors. I just don't think I picked the best yarn for a warmer weather project. I have only blocked this once though, so I am wondering if I do another wash and block, if some of the guard hairs, which are kind of the itchy, annoying bit when you're wearing it and you're warm, I'm wondering if some of those would, kind of shed, fall off, and maybe you would get a little bit softer versus the little bit irritating that it is on a warmer day right now. But because I'm recording inside in air conditioning, I thought I would pop it on for today. It's definitely warming up here in Denver. Spring is weird here. We definitely go from bits of like very cold back to very warm. We're in a warm kind of week. Past week has been 80s or so the last few days. A few days before that were a bit cooler, so maybe we're transitioning into the warmer weather to stay. That is essentially all the admin I have here at the beginning, so I think we'll just go ahead and dive right into finished objects that I have to share. So I hope you have something to work on while I sit and chat with you today. The first finished object that I have today is one that I actually shared in the last episode of the podcast, with the caveat that I might be showing it again. And so this is my Oslo hat that I am knitting for my mom, or I was knitting for my mom. It is now done, but this is what it looks like. So last time I kind of mentioned I had bound off, I had blocked it, and I thought the hat was a little too short. So what I ended up doing is I did frog my crown decreases from last time and increase the amount of length that I had before starting the crown decreases. Now it is currently 8 inches from the brim to before I started the crown decreases. So I increased that just a little bit. I do have the crown decreases. I was a little sad last time because I thought they looked a bit loose. I think they do look a bit tidier now. And then I have added the pom-pom on the top. I knit this with Knit Picks Palette in the color Tomato, and then Knit Picks Aloft, which is their silk mohair blend, in the colorway Salsa Heather, Overall, this hat was 66 grams of yarn total. And I did not do the triple brim. I've mentioned before, my mom lives in North Carolina, so what I did is I just knit the brim to the recommended length in the pattern, knit the provisional cast on to the live stitches, and then I kept knitting up. I essentially omitted the short row, which is what gets that triple brim. And yeah, the pom-pom is also from Knit Picks. It's not 100% color match, but it's pretty close, I think, for just a red hat. I did use a button on the inside of the pom-pom to kind of secure it. So I thread the pom-pom strings through and then through 2 holes of the button, do a nice firm knot, and then just tie a little bit of a bow. So that way it's easy to remove the pom-pom whenever this needs a little bit of a wash. So I am much happier with this length. I think it looks a lot better. Last time it was very skullcappy, and now you can see it definitely has a little bit more of a slouch to it. And I think the slouch with the pom-pom just looks a little bit nicer. I do not think red is my color, but my mom specifically requested a red hat. So this is now officially done. I believe I ended up ripping out that crown and redoing the hat pretty soon after I recorded last. It did not take very long. The frogging actually didn't cause me too many errors or like grief, like with the mohair catching or not wanting to frog, so I was actually pretty happy about that. And you know, it probably took me a day or two to knit that extra length and then start the decreases again. So overall not too bad in like the redoing area, but overall very happy with how this looks. With that hat, I do think I am going to mention one of my works in progress very briefly. That is because I am using the leftovers from that hat to knit my mom some fingerless gloves. So I am using the pattern Fingerless Gloves by Iris H on Ravelry. It is a free pattern, and I'm modifying it slightly. So I cast on 40 stitches for these. It's the same yarns. I'm holding them double to do the fingerless gloves. I did cast on with a German twisted cast on, and then I did 1 purl row instead of ribbing. And then I just transitioned directly into the stockinette portion. So I'm just kind of on the stockinette part of the mitten before I start the thumb increases. But I figured I would just mention this now because I'm just using the leftovers from this hat to make some matching fingerless gloves for my mom as well. Because we initially bought 2 skeins of each of the Knit Picks yarns, and this is how much I have left of the first balls still. So I didn't even tap into the second skeins yet, and I really wanted to use up the yarn that she purchased. This is not really a yarn that I would repurpose into something else. Sorry. I would repurpose the yarns, but not this color. It's not a color that I tend to gravitate toward, so I thought a matching set would be kind of nice. And these fingerless mitts are basically stockinette in the round, so they're very easy to work on, easy on the go kind of knitting, and it's nice to kind of, I think, reuse some of this to make a nice little set. So that's also a work in progress, kind of in correlation, is that the word I want, with the Oslo hat. Just kind of using up some of those leftovers to make some fingerless mitts for my mom. The next finished object I have is going to be a bit of a quick one. Not a ton to talk about here, but these are my Woolens and Nosh socks that I just finished for my husband Shane. So these are shorty socks. I knit these with Woolens and Nosh Targi yarn. This is the one of the club colorways. So this is the Superwash Targhee, which is 90% superwash targhee, 10% nylon. This colorway is the Adrift on an Inland Sea from February 2025. Overall, these socks took me 58 grams. I still have 19 grams left of the contrast color even after knitting 2 socks. And I did 8 rounds of 2x2 rib with the cuff and then a heel flap and gusset with a square heel turn. So I'm unsure if these minis start as 30 grams because I definitely used more than 1 gram total, so I don't think they're 20 gram minis. So I think they're either 25 or 30 gram minis to start with. I'm hoping future Kristen, whenever I knit another pair of socks, I'll actually weigh the contrast color so I know how much those contrast colors weigh. But I use the copy order socks pattern for Shane. Essentially, this is because I really like the height that Lindsay Fowler recommends in that pattern for the shorty socks. So what I did is I did a 2x1 rib for the cuff. It was not 2x2, this is 2x1. And then 8 rounds of the striping color. I started both of them with the white stripe, so I just found where that color change happened in order to make sure they started at the same point. Knit 8 rounds, slip stitch heel flap, square heel turn, gusset decreases, and then knit the foot to fit with a round toe at the end. I love this colorway. I think it is so cute. Overall, I still have 59 grams of my main color left and 19 grams of my contrast color. So I definitely have enough to make another pair of socks, probably for myself. I definitely could do tall socks for myself in this colorway. I don't think I'm going to do that right now. I think I'm just going to log these into my scrap stash for now. Start a new pair of socks for the summer because I'm kind of feeling short socks right now. In the warmer weather, I typically like to work on some shorty socks. I know there's like some people like to knit for the season they're in, and some people like to knit ahead of the season. So like now you would be knitting for your like autumn wearing. I'm definitely not that person. I'm like, oh, it's summer, I want short socks. So that's what I'm gonna be doing. So I'll probably be starting another pair of socks here shortly because I do not have a pair currently on the needles. Let's see, any other things stats wise? I don't think so. I knit these on a US 0. I do 60 stitches. That's Shane's sock recipe. I love this colorway so much. So this was the February 2025 club from Woolens and Nosh, which is one of my favorite clubs. I love this sock base and I love the variations I get with the sock striping. So I was going to go ahead and share my newest Woolens and Nosh acquisition. So this is the May 2025 colorway. It is the colorway Mine, aka Gull Mix Off with a Blueberry. So a really pretty like white with black, yellow, blue, and red. So kind of nautical with that little bit of pops as well. So I think this might be my next socks that I cast on. Yeah, I think this or yeah, I think these are going to be my next. I think I'm going to do a pair of shorty socks for myself in this colorway. I'll probably be caking this up so I can start them very soon. So those are my socks, and I don't have any other socks on the needle, so I need to have a bit more in order for me to have them for like meetings and kind of in between easy knitting. The next finished objects that I have are a little bit from left field. So I think I don't don't know. I think I was kind of feeling between a few projects that I just needed something quick. And I was watching some other podcasts and some people had made some dishcloths. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to make some dishcloths. So if you remember recently, I had finished this green Tunisian crochet dishcloth. It's just with Tunisian simple stitch. But I did want to try another pattern as well because this one does tend to roll. The Tunisian simple stitch is similar to like stockinette, that it will just roll if there's nothing to kind of counterbalance it. However, it's a dishcloth, so I figured the rolling is fine. I'm not super concerned. I thought about ripping it out and then I decided, no, it's gonna be fine. But I did go on to TL Yarn Crafts and I looked at her Free Mercy cloth pattern. And this just uses a really cool texture stitch, and I really enjoyed making this dishcloth. So I am using Shiny Happy Cotton from Wool and the Gang. This bottom color, I had to go stash or yarn hunting on Ravelry. I'm pretty sure this color is called Moss Green. These are leftovers that I have from a sample that I knit when I worked at Fancy Tiger, so I don't have the ball bands. So I'm pretty sure this bottom color is Moss Green, and I think the top color is Malibu. So I basically just continued to work on this dishcloth until I ran out of the green, transitioned to this little contrast stripe in the Malibu. This a little loop is called for in the pattern, so I did that as well. And so this is Tunisian crochet, and it makes this really cool little stitch. I used the recommended amount of stitches and needle size or hook size on this, and it was a J hook size. However, for me, I feel like this is just a bit too loose. So I then went and continued in with the Malibu color and made another one. Just in Malibu because I did not run out. I used an eye hook on this though, so I went down one hook size, and I just think the size overall is a little bit better for a dishcloth washcloth. I don't like mine huge. I know some people, I feel like the recommended, like if you Google like washcloth size, it's huge. So I like this size. And so I just did it again in Malibu. Now that I've learned this stitch, it's really fun. It's pretty easy. I have really liked working on it. I can make one of these pretty quickly, and I really like this size. So overall, I'm thinking I'm going to do these 3 as a set. So this full pink, the full green, and then the stripe one. And I'll probably be sending these to my mom as well because she has specifically asked for more washcloths, dishcloths. So that was also a reason I was making a few. So she's going to get a pretty big package here one day. Hat, fingerless mitts, and dishcloths. Overall, I do like the Wool in the Gang Shiny Happy Cotton. It is very soft. I don't know price point wise if it would be like my #1 recommendation for a dishcloth yarn, but because I had leftovers, I did not mind it. It also has a ton of tiny plies. It's a little hard to see, but it does make it a very round yarn. However, the yarn splits a lot and very easily. So it's probably not my #1 recommendation. If someone gave it to me again, I would use it. Would I go out and buy it for dishcloths? Probably not. Would I use it for like a cotton shirt? Potentially, because it is very soft. and I don't think it's too dense for like a t-shirt. So with those, I also have started another dishcloth. So we're kind of, today's a little bit weird because we're bridging the gap between whips and finished objects. But I went also into my other leftovers of cotton, and I pulled out this. This is K&C Essentials. I do not remember the color. This is leftovers from my summer Tolsta Tee that I also test knit for Samantha Guerin. It's 100% cotton DK from Joann's. This is all I had left, but I have started another dishcloth, which I started today during the F1 race. I'm recording on a Sunday here, but this is how far I was able to get. So maybe a quarter of the way through. I really like this color. It's very interesting looking at this, which has, it's still applied cotton, but it has significantly less ply, so you can see them more. Like, I think you can even see them compared to this with there's so many. They definitely blend in. So I just find that interesting. I am happy with how this is working up. I really like this color. So because this is leftovers, I'm kind of just seeing how far I can get. And then I think my idea is I have this skein of Knit Picks Dishy, which is in the colorway Mushroom. So I think this would be a good one to pair with like leftovers of this. And then I technically pulled it out. This is what I have left of my Shiny Happy Cotton in Malibu. So I think these go together well. And I think this will go together well as well. Like a stripe and then finish it off in this. Maybe I'll get another color. But yeah, dishcloths have just been hitting a nice spot recently. And I just want, this stitch I definitely have to like focus on. So it's a good, like, let me sit down and focus and work on this. But also just like the quick gratification of like, okay, I've started this, I've finished it, is also super rewarding. And I think also dishcloths are something that I typically don't want to work on in like the colder weather, but warmer weather I'm more willing. So I'm just following the urge. I don't know what word I'm looking for. I'm wanting to work on them right now, so I'm just gonna do it, and we'll just see how long that idea lasts for. I definitely think this is gonna be more of a finished object episode because I've been talking quite a while on finished objects, and then because I've kind of talked about some of my whips, I really don't have many whips outside of the ones I've shared, which is kind of weird. Anyway, we'll just keep pressing. My last knitting finished object is something I think I said I would finish this episode, but this is my Amren by Joji Locatelli. It is a fingering weight single skein shawl, and I have finished it. So this is my shawl. This is knit in Les Garçons Yak sock base in the colorway Mysterious Squirrel. Overall, this weighs 109 grams. I used the entire skein of yarn, and I currently have that much left. This is half of a gram of yarn. That's how much I had left after the bind off. I knit this on US 4s, which is a 3.5 millimeter, and it was one size down from what was recommended. Here is the ball band. So Les Garçons yak sock is 70% superwash merino, 20% yak, 10% nylon, and it was 400 meters, which was the meterage that Joji recommends. She recommends kind of using one of those thinner fingering weights in order to make sure that you have enough. So it starts here and you slowly increase, and there are these lace sections throughout. You also have short rows to kind of build this slight curved inside and slight curved outside. It's definitely not a blanket kind of shawl, but when you put it on, I think it is definitely like it lays nicely like this as a nice single wrap spring. You know, maybe you have a cold office and you just want to throw something on without feeling too warm, or just a cute light accessory. I think it really fits that kind of bill. So overall, like I mentioned, 109 grams. And then there are these lace sections throughout. The final lace section here is 2 repeats of the lace. And so what I was doing each time before I got to the lace section was I was putting in a lifeline with embroidery thread. And before you start this final lace section, actually before you start any lace section, Joji recommends, or she provides the stitch count that you should be at before starting each lace section. So the final time before I started this lace section, I knit to the stitch count and then I began working on the lace. I finished 1 repeat and then realized I am not going to have enough yarn at all. And so I remember in the pattern at the beginning, there is a section recommending like when you might start your final lace section. So I went back and the little blurb said to start your final lace section when you had about 10 grams of yarn remaining. I'm going to change my battery. So the pattern recommends that you start this final lace section when you have 10 grams of your main color remaining. So I was like, well, I'm halfway through the lace, so that means if I have about 5 grams left, because she recommends you start with 10, and there's 2 pattern repeats. So if I had 5 or more, I should have enough to finish the lace. So I grabbed my scale, weighed the little bit of main color I had left, and I had 3 grams. So that obviously was not going to be enough. And I looked back at the project pictures and I really liked how the double lace on the end looked compared to the rest of the shawl. I thought it just gave a nice like final balance. So I ended up ripping back out to my lifeline, which I put in before all my lace sections, and then I frogged some of the garter rows before starting the section. After frogging the lace, I weighed my yarn and I had about 7 grams total. So frogged back, I think 8 rows, which was 2 repeats of the garter section. Joji does give if you do have to start it early, make sure you have a repeat of 6 plus 5. So I got to that point, and then, so I think like I mentioned, ripped out about 8 rows, rounded up onto my main color, weighed. I had 11 grams, and I had the right stitch count. So with that, I restarted my lace, the 2 repeats, did my bind off, and we are done. I do have to block this still, but since it was finished, I wanted to be able to show it today. So after this episode, I will be blocking this. And I think with that, it'll probably grow a smidge considering it's superwash and yak. And then I'll be able to block out the lace sections. So that'll be exciting. The pattern also does call for little tassels on the outside. This yarn was a sock set with this as the contrast color. And so I did cake it up to make some of the tassels, and then during the race today I went to make one of the tassels and they were so small and so fiddly. I was like, no, I am not going to do that. I made about one and went, no, that's not happening. I think it looks gorgeous without the tassels, and that is what we are going to go with. So I'm very happy with this. I'm super excited with how it looks. I did make this for my aunt, who is a big red fan. She works for American Airlines, and I think this could be, I don't know. She does like red. I doubt she could wear this in uniform, but I could see her wearing this for, you know, with a little dress or something that she goes to. I think it drapes really nicely, so I would definitely knit this shawl again. I think between the rows of short rows, garter, and then you get to the lace, it's a mix, a good mix between mindless but also paying attention, and also just a really great way to use up one of your single skeins from your stash. And yeah, the shape is gorgeous. I think that just like looking at it on the little camera screen, it looks really nice. So that is my Amren shawl by Joji Locatelli. 109 grams out of my stash, a whole skein out of my stash. Does need a little bit of a block, but I'm very, very excited about that. I have one more finished thing to show you, but it's not knitting, it is my spinning. And this is some fiber that I began spinning in April and finished in May. It was kind of on my wheel for a little bit of time. I took some breaks in between, and then, you know, the time it takes to spin and then ply and then wash and then measure. Sometimes I think spinning can take a little bit of time, but I am pretty excited with this skein of yarn. So this is Greenwood Fiberworks in the colorway Copper Hills. It is very drapey. So this was 4 ounces of fiber. It was 50% merino, 25% bamboo, and 25% silk. It ended up being a 2-ply. And I'm anywhere between 11 to 12 wraps per inch. So it's roughly a sport to DK. There might be some points in here where it leans a little more to worsted, but for 115 grams, I only have 153 yards. So that's where I think my grist is really dense. I think I spin very dense yarn, so I don't get a ton of yardage, even though my yarn can be a bit thinner. I don't know how to fix that. I'm really trying. But I think this is really pretty. I don't spend, this was my first spin with bamboo, I believe. And also a foray with my silk. Silk I find very tricky to spin. It's just very slippery. This braid from Greenwood Fiber I really enjoyed, because you could tell that they really blended the bamboo and silk together versus some of the other skeins where silk I've done, there are big chunks of silk, and so when I would grab one of those, it would grab like the whole chunk of silk. This one was nice because it was very blended, so you don't necessarily get big chunks of white from the silk, which made the spinning a little bit easier. I definitely have some points in here where I have curly cues where I put too much twist into the singles and was not able to get them out fully when plying. So I think you can see one right here. So that might also be contributing a little bit to my grist because there's a ton of curly cues kind of stuck in here. But overall, we're still learning how to spin with the silk and the merino and the bamboo. I think it's a really pretty skein of yarn. Yeah, I did enjoy spinning it quite a bit. Because it's bamboo and silk, potentially maybe I could do socks with it. It'd be like DK socks. Otherwise, I'm not really sure. I just kind of spin and throw it into my hand spun stash until, you know, we find a project for it. But yes, that is a spinning project done. I do have some fiber prep to start a new spin, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Yeah. Spinning object done. With all that being said, those are all of my finished objects. So we'll just transition into my works in progress that I have right now. So technically in this works in progress section, I'm not going to have a lot to show you. I did briefly show you the dishcloth that I have on the go, along with the fingerless mitts. I do also have some hibernating projects. I have a hood that I had started that I have not worked on in quite a while, mostly because it's a very woolly wool and mohair and it's a hood, and I'm not going to need a hood for a while, so I just haven't worked on it. I also have my vest that I showed last time, but I literally knit one row on it since I last recorded, so I didn't feel like that was going to be a productive showing today. It looks exactly the same as last time. However, I do have one other work in progress that I can show you, so this will be the only thing I have in this section today. But this is my Tolsta Tee, which I actually did show last time, and it's not going to look much different from last time. But here it is. It looks very similar to last time, doesn't it? However, there's been quite a bit of things that happened with this project since last time. So, I had mentioned last time how my raglan stitches were kind of bothering me. And let me mention very quickly, this is the Tolsta Tee by Rebecca Clow. I am knitting the size 5 with a D cup, which is about a 49-inch bust. So I've recast this on May 28th because I was not happy. My raglan stitches during the short rows, so where I was knitting back and forth, knitting and purling, looked really sloppy. I thought they looked really loose, and I just was not happy with them. So what I did is I completely frogged my Tolsta and I restarted it. I also have changed the raglan stitches to be 2-stitch raglans. And when I was knitting the short rows, so knitting rows and then purling, on my left hand needle I put a US 7, and on my right I had the regular US 8. So I went down 1 needle size for my purl rows to help with my purl tension, because I do purl looser than I knit. And I know I should have done that and I didn't because I was lazy, but I think it looks a lot better now. I think the 2-stitch raglans help a little bit with the tension, because instead of you pulling kind of on both sides of one stitch to make your raglan increases, you kind of have 2 stitches that are sharing that. So I essentially restarted, I redid the short rows. I'm now back to working on the raglans in the round. I'm on a US 8 now completely for both my needles, because I just switched back to a US 8 once I was back in the round. And Yes, this is my restarted Tolsta Tee. I am using Knit Picks Cotton, which is a cotton linen blend in the colorway Shoal. It's a DK weight. 70% cotton, 30% linen. I do really enjoy this yarn. And here's my frogged yarn. So that's how much I have left still before I continue on. So this is also kind of a mindless kind of project, which is why I'm hesitating a little bit on starting some new socks, but this is a little harder to take with me, at least until I get the raglans done, because I do have to pay attention on whether it's a increase row or a plain row. But after that, it'll be pretty smooth sailing. Again, I cast it on after the ribbing, so I don't knit the ribbing at first. I cast on with the stitch count, knit 1 round, then started the short rows. I will go back and pick up the collar and then knit upwards so I can kind of control a little bit more how much coverage here around the neck I get and how wide it is. So I mean, that's really the only other work in progress I have right now. I do have some others, like I mentioned. I have 3 that I've just really not made any progress on since I last recorded, because I was mostly focusing on the finished objects that I showed you. With that, I don't have a ton of other project plans to start anything new other than a pair of socks and maybe a shawl for myself. Otherwise, I think I'm mostly going to focus on this Tolsta Tee, pull out my dishcloths whenever I want, and the fingerless knits for my mom, along with my vest. So I mean, I do have like a good circulation of about 4 projects. I just had about 4 projects that I was circulating through previously to show you today, which is very interesting because at first I was going to record earlier and then thought I didn't have anything, and then I feel like this happens with me where I will have like no finished objects and then a ton. I don't know if anyone else kind of has that, but maybe it's because I'm working on so many that it just kind of happens that way. Overall, that's basically all that I have to share with you today. So I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me today. Let me know what you were working on or any comments down below. I love to read and respond and see what you all are working on while hanging out with me. I hope I was able to keep you company while you were working on your projects today, and I hope you put a little bit of love into every stitch you're making. And until next time, I hope you are well, and I'll see you again very soon.